What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be learning how to make Toji's inverted heavenly spear from Jujutsu Kaisen. If this is your first time to the channel, I'm Dylan. I like to teach you guys how to make cosplay, and today we're going to be making a prop from one of my favorite anime, Jujutsu Kaisen. This is the inverted heavenly spear that Toji wields in his fight with Gojo in the early bits of the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen. Super easy to make, very light and fun, easy to carry around, and I'm going to show you how to make it today. First, let's draw out the pattern for the spear. You can screenshot these exact measurements if you want to make it exactly like me. You're going to cut out your template, and we're going to use this to transfer onto the foam. Here's the template for the guard as well. Alright, so the next step in this whole process is to take your pattern, we're going to transfer it onto foam. I'm using 5mm foam for this. You can kind of use whatever you want. I think 5 is going to be thin enough that it looks like an actual blade. I think 10 might be too thick because we're going to end up doing 2 layers, sandwiching them together. But you know, use whatever you have, and it doesn't have to be this, but we're going to try it with 5 and see how it turns out. Take a Sharpie, transfer it on, cut it out, and then we're going to work on gluing those 2 pieces together. Alright, next step in this process is to cut these out. You can either do a straight cut so that your knife is vertical like this, or you can do a 45-degree cut and bevel all of the blade edges as you go out. This way is a bit easier. This way will save you some time when we go to glue these together and Dremel the blade edge later. Personal preference, so whatever you guys want to do, whatever you're comfortable with. What I would recommend is doing a straight cut when you get to the handle. You don't want to bevel this because we're going to add more layers of foam to the handle to make it more robust later on. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these out. I will probably bevel all of the edges of the blade just to make it a little bit easier for me later on, and I don't have to do as much sanding with the Dremel once we get to gluing these together. Cut these out, then we're gonna use barge cement to glue both sides together, and we'll have almost the full sword, but we'll get there once we do that. The guard will be next. As you can see, the bevels gave us a good start for the blade. So once we glue these together, you should be able to take your Dremel tool and really, refine the edges here. But we beveled everything except for the handle because we're going to add more layers to the handle once we glue these together. And then we can add the guard once that's done. So next step will be flip these over. So we do the non-beveled side. We're going to get some barge contact cement, coat both sides, sandwich them together. Alright, one thing I forgot to mention is I'm actually going to take a little bit of wire, so I just have this like hobby wire, and I'm going to put it in between the 2 pieces of foam as I glue them together. Now, a lot of times you'll see people like cut out a channel in the foam for the wire to sit in. This stuff's pretty thin and the foam will like mesh around it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of wire straight down the middle and then probably one up the side here before I glue the pieces together, just to give it some more stability, because if you have these here, 2 pieces of foam, even glued together, they're gonna be a little bit floppy, and this wire is just gonna give it a little bit of strength so it doesn't bend and flop around while we're using it as a prop. It should just be pretty easy. You can get this stuff very cheap. It's not necessary, but if you want a more stable prop, having something in the middle is going to make it stronger. This is the next step. Apply an even coat of contact cement all the way to the edge of both sides of the foam. Wait till it gets tacky, and then you can go ahead and put these 2 pieces together. For the guard, I cut out 3 of the same shape. 2 of them were 10mm foam and the other was 6mm. I also cut out 2 more handle pieces out of the 6mm foam. Now it's time to refine the edges with your Dremel tool. I used the sanding drum attachment to make the beveled edges even and as smooth as possible, and I started shaping the guard pieces into the shape that I wanted. Once I was happy with the edges, I switched to a smaller bit and I added some weathering. With that, the blade is done and it's time to work on the handle and guard. If you haven't already, go ahead and glue the pieces of the guard together. If you want to line up the pieces as perfectly as possible, I suggest putting the guard on the handle while you're gluing it together. Once the guard is finished, you can go ahead and put it on the blade. Then you can glue on the last 2 pieces of the handle, and it will lock the guard in place. We're going to take our Dremel tool to the handle as well and round off all the edges. I used 2mm foam and an X-Acto knife to cut out all the detail pieces. This includes the 2 pieces on the blade, the collar by the guard, and the pommel at the bottom of the handle. These were also attached to the blade with barge contact cement. A quick blast with the heat gun will seal up the foam and get it ready for paint. Blast heat it first, then we coat it in silver, then we mask off the blade and paint the handle and guard gold. To wrap the handle, I just used some bias tape you can get at the craft store, and I applied it with my hot glue gun. This takes a little while, but try to go all the way around the handle, not leaving any gaps, and not putting too much hot glue so it doesn't bleed through the fabric. I like using bias tape because it is even all the way through, and it's comfortable to hold. You can use whatever material you want. Last step that we're going to do before we throw the ring on the handle is do a little bit of dry brushing. So I have some watered down black paint right here, and I have a paper towel off to the side here, but what we're going to do is just take a little bit of that paint and kind of press it into all of our spots that we dug out with the Dremel tool. Just a little bit like that. And I'm going to wipe it off with your paper towel. That way it darkens up. Gosh, I gotta learn to stay in camera. That way it darkens up those indented spots a little bit, and it gives the blade a little bit more depth as well. Gonna kind of go over this whole thing, handle included, probably not on the actual grip part, but just all of the quote unquote metal bits. And once we're done with that, the sword should be pretty much finished. Last step is to clear coat the sword when you're done and throw the ring on the handle. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new, and if you make it for yourself, make sure you show me online. If you have any questions, write them in the comments below. I try to get to all of those questions and answer them the best that I can. Until next time, we'll see you later.